I'm Kyle Malnati, your host of the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. At Calibrate, we exist to help people create generational wealth through real estate. My personal mission is to encourage, empower, and educate you by sharing best practices from business leaders that are proven winners. Broadcasting from the Mile High City, thank you for tuning in to the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Malnati. Our esteemed guest today is Brendan Bartic, the Bartic Group. Brendan is the broker owner of Keller Williams Integrity, and Brendan's team is the #1 team in Denver. He also is a national coach and coaches high-performing agents all across the U.S. Brendan, welcome to our show.
Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be able to get to share some of our information and knowledge with your audience.
It's going to be a great discussion. For those of you who have been part of our podcast audience for quite a long time, thank you so much. Please make sure to rate, subscribe, review, etc. Share it with a friend. Brendan and I are actually both in Denver. So many of you know that we interview folks across the U.S. and we've had a couple of international guests. This one is right here in my own backyard. Brendan and I are literally about 1.5 miles down the road from each other down Colorado Boulevard. So it's going to be a fun discussion. Thanks for joining us. Brendan, let's talk just a little bit about the man behind the bio, your origin story. You had shared with me as we were preparing that you were part of the U.S. Army Infantry. Yep. And then by way, right after that, time service, and thank you for your service, that you were with the Ritz-Carlton. So those two seem to be very foundational for how you've set up your real estate career. And what did you learn from being in the Army? And then how did that differ from being at the Ritz-Carlton? And how have you put those together as you operate a team as well as a brokerage company?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Kyle. So basically the Army, instilled in me the regiment, right? The routine, you hear it all the time, the discipline, wake up early. A lot of our mottos were, we get more done before 9 a.m. than most people do all day, right? And I carried that forward, and I still have that in the business as it stands now. So that discipline, that regiment, and it's not always fun. Regiment it gets boring and it gets all this, but that's where the money is. And that's where true perfection comes out of is that routine and that training. Then the Ritz-Carlton really refined it and taught me how to take care of clients and provide an amazing client experience and a customer experience, and also really helped me become a better leader and explained to me and taught me how to have a structure for the company and the real estate organization that keeps everybody in alignment, right? Is big on alignment and values and your core principles, your mission, your, all of that fun stuff. So yeah, both very different, but really they follow a very core principle, which is a rhythmic, routine, and systematic approach to getting things done.
I think that systems are probably one of the hardest things for real estate agents to learn. And I know that the Keller Williams organization has really perfected this. I know that you also are a coach. And so not only are you living this, you're also helping others really get to the next level. So you'd shared with me, and I'd love to share with our audience, your $1 Million Daily Schedule for agents, really creating that regimen. And what is that presentation like? How do you walk people through this $1 Million Daily Schedule for agents?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Kyle, the $1 Million Schedule starts with a program that we developed called Mastery. So Mastery. And that starts with waking up early. So I wake up every day at 4:30 a.m. I know that's not for everybody. We have people that, basically the goal is between 4:30 and 6, right? If you're waking up after 6 o'clock, then it's very difficult in this universe to be ultra successful, in my opinion, because there's too much that we need to develop and work on to get done. So every morning routine starts out the same way for a millionaire agent, and it starts with mastery. So M stands for meditation. So every morning, 10 minutes of meditation. The A is for affirmations. So 5 minutes of affirmations. Today I'll take my next listing. Today I'll have my next closing. Today I'll make my next $1 million client. Today I'm the #1 agent in my office, my city. And you just go through that for 5 minutes every single morning in a very quiet place in your home or your apartment or wherever you're at. The next is the S. So 5 minutes of script review. Now, this is the big one, right? This is the big one, especially for us as real estate agents, where I need to review the scripts and dialogues that I'm going to need that day for my lead gen session. If I'm going to have a conversation with a client about possibly improving the price of their home because it's not selling at the current price. If I can review that script, how much easier is it going to be for me and the client later that day, right? Then you've got the T. So this was a game changer. 2 thank you cards every day to clients, your staff, your family. So think about it. I'm cranking out 2 a day. I'm putting out almost close to 600 personalized thank you notes every single year, right? You know, weekends, sometimes I take a day off here and there and all that, but it's like Santa's workshop. We're just cranking in the background, and it makes it a major impact on people. They love getting that, hey, I was just thinking about you, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. You know, wanted to just check in. It's a game changer. So you've got 2 thank you cards. Then you have the E for exercise, right? So 20 minutes of exercise. I get up a little bit earlier because I need an hour because I need an hour, but 20 minutes the minimum, whether it's just jumping jacks or whatever it is. Then the R is reading. So 10 minutes of reading, whether that's an Audible book, whether that's, whatever, a book that you're reading. And then the last one, this is the one that trips everybody out the most, 10-minute YouTube video. So the Y stands for YouTube. And I started doing this about 2 years ago, where I really started every morning. I made a decision to do a 10-minute YouTube video, and I would just ask YouTube how to, and then finish that question, right? How to improve my listing presentation, how to improve my customer experience, how to improve my, it's all out there, right? Right? Like it's all on YouTube. And there's a lot of garbage, don't let me get you wrong, but there's a lot of good stuff. So we start out with that. Then 7:30, I'm at the office. Okay, and this is where the top producer $1 million schedule works. 7:30 in the office, 7:30 to 7:45 live script practice role play. So preferably you would have a different role play partner every day of the week. So you have different personalities, different styles. We're working on who we're going to be calling that day, expired, center of influence, past clients, all of this. And, Kyle, people get in their head about scripts where they're like, oh, it just doesn't sound personable and all that. Scripts are just a model to make you even sound more personal, because you know exactly what to say and you're not thinking about what you need to say. You're actually listening to the other person because you have it so instilled in your brain. And that's the real magic of that. So you're doing that. And then from 7:45 until 11 a.m., we're lead generating. So calls, text, we're doing everything we can to engage with not only our database, but cold business, expired homes that just came off the market, for sell by owners. We have probably about 9 different lead buckets that we go through. And then we also have a lot of leads because we do a lot inbound leads because we do a lot of marketing. I partner, I'm the only agent in Colorado endorsed by Barbara Corcoran. We have, we're featured on Shark Tank. We're on Channel 9 News. We have radio ads. We have all this. We have a lot of inbound leads that we need to call every day as well. Then since we take so many listings and we list and help so many home sellers get the best price possible, we have a lot of sign calls. So everybody's calling in on our signs and so all that. So in the morning till 11 a.m., well, it's really till 10:45, 10:45, we're lead generating. Then you go to the bathroom, right? No, you check your fantasy football, you walk around. I tell people go outside. I mean, it's an intense session, get some air. You come back from 11 to 12, you're putting everything into your database, your CRM, right? And updating notes. So you don't do that during the session, you're writing handwritten notes so you can keep staying on the phone and rocking and rolling. You'll see a lot of agents and business professionals, they'll just start, putting things into the system, and it slows it down, right, during their call session, because no one wants to be on the phone making calls, right? That's the heavy lifting, if you will. So from 11 to 12, updating your database, putting everybody on whatever the work, we call them workflows. So Kyle, if you are a new home buyer, I'm going to put you on a buyer campaign. So you're going to receive properties from us, nurture emails, text campaigns, all of these things that we've built in the back office. Then from 12 to 12:30, we have live role play again. So either here in our office or with the COVID situation via Zoom, every day for a half hour, it's a different theme. So Mondays are more appointment Mondays. It's all about setting appointments. Tuesdays are technical Tuesdays. It's all about the contract and explaining very, difficult, tricky things, earnest money disputes and even fun stuff. One of the questions we always ask Kyle is, can you explain to me how a boiler works? Now, you would think that that would be a common sense question. You'd be amazed how many people don't know how a boiler in a home works, right? So we do things like that. And then, so from 12:30 to 1:30, lunch, right? Healthy lunch, and this is important when I say the word healthy, right? You're not going to hit Taco Bell and chugging down burritos, right? You're having a healthy lunch because you're gonna need the fuel for the rest of the afternoon, because the remainder of the afternoon is appointments, right? So this is buyer appointments, listing appointments, any type of appointments. You're going to do that. Now, if you have no appointments scheduled, get back into lead generation mode and continue to lead gen until you have an appointment. Now, that's the biggest game changer of that $1 million schedule is in our world, you never are allowed to schedule any appointment before 12:30 ever. Ever, ever, ever. I don't care the dentist, an inspection, your kid's graduation, just kidding about that. But whatever it is, right? Yeah, except for very few things, you're never doing anything, because that's where, Kyle, you get the roller coaster effect, right? Oh, I make some calls and get some leads, and then I close some houses, and then I go back up on the roller coaster. And we have to have that morning to be completely available to us to continue to build our business. So that's the schedule. That's the $1 million schedule.
That's incredible. And I can tell, like you said, right from the U.S. Army, where we're going to get a lot more accomplished in that first 4 hours of the day, rounded off from 8 to noon.
Yeah.
Than anybody else does. And I think that there is something to be said to be starting it before 8 o'clock in the morning. But wow, I mean, that's incredible. And I can imagine you probably don't have many people in your organization that, maybe it's a few days that they don't have appointments in the afternoon, but I would imagine if they're adhering to that schedule, they're probably setting a lot of afternoon appointments. So you're probably not doing a lot of lead gen in the afternoon because you've got so many appointments from such a lot of lead generation. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that is correct. And, and the big thing too is also taking advantage of the weekends, right? Like we know, does it make, like you just said, does it make sense to be calling people from 1 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon? No, right? You need to catch them early in the morning, right? When they're still, the day hasn't blown up on them yet. Or sometimes it's better to reach out to our center of influence and past clients on the weekend when they're not stressed, right? They're at Costco and they're like, hey, Brendan, hey, how's the market? Good. Oh, it's a lot better than, they're at their office getting yelled at by somebody. So it's a lot of just thinking about the psychology of the customer.
All right. Now for our audience, I can imagine that there's someone out there, they may even be a seasoned producer, that says that is intense. That's really a little bit kind of crazy. For that person, maybe for that skeptic, could you give us, without naming any names, a few examples of someone that really adhered to that schedule, to that morning schedule, and what type of GCI or what type of production someone can accomplish by doing that for 3 months, 6 months, a full year? What does it look like?
Absolutely. So to that point, we've produced now the Rookie of the Year for Keller Williams 4 years in a row. And we know that because of that regiment, right? So I'm more proud of that statistic than any other statistic. So to answer your question, when you come in as an agent, you always ask the question, so what do you want to make your first year? 9 out of 10 times, 100 grand, right? You're going to get the 100K. It's always 100K, right? Especially if they're, newer or newish. And so we go, great, not a problem. We build out, we have the ratios and formulas of what needs to be done down to every individual call to be able to do that. So we had an agent on our team who's still on our team now, who used to work at Waterways Car Wash. You know, you're on Colorado Boulevard, the car wash, right? He
I
used to be
go to
one of those
Waterway. I
guys.
love it.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah, he worked there, and in the first 16 months, 12 to 16 months of him being on the team, sold about 40 homes, right? So 40 homes, when you're talking GCI, we're talking $225,000, $250,000 in income. We had another gentleman who came and joined our organization from Florida who did road construction for the state, like a civil engineer. His first 12 months did about 40 transactions. And so yes, it's hard. Yes, it's regimented. Yes, we always say if Keller Williams was the Navy, we're the Navy SEALs. We want to be the best trained, have the best technology, but we also have the strictest regiment. And because of that regiment, it produces those consistent results. And when you want to say hard, I always put it in this perspective, Kyle. We could be doing a lot of things, right? Like I think hard is defined by, I get paid an exorbitant amount of money to talk on the phone for 3 to 4 hours a day. Boo-hoo, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but people would rather go work in do, let's just say a retail job. Nothing wrong with retail, but people would rather go work 8-10 hour shifts, selling clothes, retail, shoes or whatever it is. And they would rather, honestly, they would take that over having to pick up the phone and call somebody and do sales. So it's just what your mind is programmed to. I would rather sit there and be able to make $1,000 an hour on the phone than $15 an hour doing anything else on earth. The big piece of that missing puzzle is, how much practice are you going to put in to get to that $1,000 an hour?
All right. I've had a great career so far, at least in my own estimation. And I've done it by making a lot of cold calls. So I completely agree with everything you're speaking about. And I'm not sure if even when I was a younger broker, rookie broker, I'm not sure if I ever cranked away at 4 hours worth of calls.
Sure.
So let's pretend someone does it for 2 hours or 3 hours. They're not at your group, Brendan. I can imagine still that the results would be amazing. And to be able to do it with that amount of consistency, you've got to have scripts. So you shared that that's something that you talk through, something that you premeditate. And I agree that you end up manifesting good conversations by having scripts. What are some of your favorite scripts that you go over? What are some of the most common things that are discussed in that early 7:30 to 7:45 live scripts discussion?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're exactly right. And so we have, I've created over the last 20 years, my personal script book. So for anyone listening, if you want all of my scripts, all of my objections, all of my objection handlers, just go to brendanbartic.com. They're yours for free. And I do that because when I first started out, I received free scripts from a coach that I was working with. And if I look back, Kyle, if it wasn't for those scripts, I don't know if I'd be here today. I don't know if it would have been that level of, because I'd have been saying, gosh knows what, right? I'd been like a goofball. So I wanted to pay it forward. And so yeah, we give that to everybody for free. We also, every Thursday, Kyle, we have live, remember how we said every day at noon. So we put out to the entire country our noon session on Thursdays, Thursday Mountain Standard Time at 12 o'clock. If you want information on that, just go to brendanbartic.com. We have it posted on there as well. And you can join us for free live Zoom role play every Thursday from 12 to 12:30. But when we're looking at this, right, the scripts that, and I'll talk about some of my favorites. Now, when you're in residential real estate, we know that the highest level of pain call, and when I mean pain, the one that you're probably going to get the most resilience on is usually going to give you the most money, okay? And that's the expireds. So you have expireds for sell binders. And for those that don't know what an expired is, it just means that you decided to list with me. Unfortunately, you weren't able to get my home sold, and then the home expires from your contract, and us as agents get a notification of that. And so we call those sellers and explain to them why we are able to help them. And we've helped so many others where maybe their previous agent or it could have been a conflict issue. You never know. It's never, sometimes it's the agent, sometimes it's the property, sometimes it's the seller. We don't know. That's what I'm there to do, is to solve the problem. So expireds, then for sell by owners, then we call rent by owners, people that are renting, or landlords, owners that are possibly selling their properties. But the script that I always tell everybody to start with, Kyle, is what I call the just sold script. So it's a very simple script. So you have a neighborhood that you're going to call, and whether you're brand new or you've been selling for years, you take a property that either you sold or someone in your office just recently sold, and you call up the neighbors and you say, hey, Kyle, it's Brendan with the Bartic Group at Keller Williams Real Estate. Hey, Kyle, we just sold the home over at 123 Elm Street. Beautiful home, 5 bedrooms, 4 bath, amazing view. And Kyle, when we sold that property, we sold it for 2% over asking price, or 10,000 over asking, or we sold it in 5 days, or whatever it is, right? And we sold that home. And Kyle, we're still working with several buyers right now that missed out on that opportunity. So I was calling all the neighbors to see if you or anyone you know might be interested in selling. Right? And that's a great script, right? Can anyone on earth hopefully do that script? Now, Kyle's either going to say to me, yes, I know of somebody, or no, I don't, or click and hang up on you and say, don't call me again. Just maybe. We don't get that a lot because people like to help in their neighborhood, right? They're like, so he'll, maybe Kyle says, you know what, Brendan, no, I'm not interested in selling right now. Well, Kyle, I appreciate you taking the time to think about that. Kyle, if you were to move, where would you go next? And then Kyle goes, well, I mean, in about 2 or 3 years, we plan on retiring. I want to go up to Montana, right? I want to get a cabin up there. You're going to retire in 3 years and go to Montana? Man, Kyle, that's exciting. Gosh, do you like fishing? Oh, and then I just start building rapport, right? And I'm building rapport, and I'm having an amazing conversation with Kyle. Well, Kyle, have you had a market analysis completed on your home recently? And then how long have you been there? All of these questions come out, more natural conversations. Well, great, Kyle. That's fantastic. Kyle, the other question I had for you, since I got you on the phone, we help a lot of people build wealth through investing in real estate. Do you happen to own any investment properties here locally? No, I don't. Or yes, depending upon. If he says no, oh my gosh. Well, Kyle, hey, I'm putting on a free investor Zoom webinar. It's going to be on October 12th from 6 to 7:30. It'll give you all the information about everything on how to start that journey. So I'll send you that registration and invite. Would you like to have that by mail or regular email? Which one's better for you? Oh, Brendan, just send it to my email. Great. So I'll send that to you. So you see, this is where scripts, Kyle, are. You can see I've done this a few bajillion times, right?
Yeah,
but
you've mastered
wouldn't
it.
know. Would it sound scripted to you if we were having that conversation?
Not at all. And I was smiling the entire time because I have been on the other side where I'm making those calls, and you can tell that Brendan's got the ability to communicate with really anybody because he's practiced it over and over again. And there's all sorts of examples of this in sports where everyone marvels at someone who's able to hit a golf ball straight down the middle of the fairway, 300 yards every time off the tee. They don't do that by just waking up, getting out of bed, and heading over to the golf course. They do it by having 3 or 4 hours of practice before a round and then practice after the round. One of the things I love using the golf example is you'll see someone that is in the middle of a golf round, not the middle of a golf round, middle of a golf tournament. So they finished their second or their third day of a 4-day tournament, and they're then back on the course, back on the driving range for the next hour. They just played for 4 hours and they're chipping, putting, doing whatever. It's incredible. And so just being a part of that craft and really honoring the craft of real estate or golf or whatever it is, I think is really a differentiator. Don't you?
Yeah. Well, it's massive. And you nailed it right there, Kyle, where it's when you're looking at it. I was telling this story the other day. This past year for my birthday, my wife bought me a piano because I always wanted to play piano. I was like, I think it'd be hilarious to just have people over and I could just start ripping songs and singing. And I thought it was the coolest thing. Always wanted to do it my whole life. So you get the piano, right? And you have your script music and you're looking at it. And I start to practice. And so when I first get the piano, I practice every day, right? I'm regimented. I'm going to learn this piano thing and no time flat. And then you realize it's hard. right? It's a lot harder. You realize your left hand is completely worthless and you didn't realize this your entire life. It does nothing and you're trying to tell it what to do. And so I'm going, and then because it's so hard, the next week, I maybe practice a little bit less. By week 5 or 7, I'm down to 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And that's, I think, what happens to agents is that regiment gets hard. But we know if I were to make beautiful music and to sound amazing, you got to play Jingle Bells 1,000 times, right? You got to play Chopsticks 1,000 times. You just don't start rocking out Beethoven and it just sounds beautifully, smooth and eloquent. So I look at that and I go, it's the same thing. It's the just the consistency of practice. It's tedious, it's not sexy, and it's just every day for 30 minutes, right? If you practice piano or your golf swing, you go to the driving range, a good analogy, you went to the driving range every day for just 1 hour, unless there's something really wrong with you, you're gonna probably become a better golfer, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what scripts and dialogues and role play and practice do for you.
And I already made the excuse for everybody. I said, okay, 4 hours, that's too intense. Let's say 2 hours, and all of a sudden everybody, I would imagine that happens a lot where, well, I got to drop my kids off. I got to do this. And how serious are you about succeeding?
Well, that's why you have to build a community around you, because if trying to do this by yourself, it's almost impossible. It's like going to the gym. You go to a big gym and they've got all this equipment. You walk in and you're like, you know what, where do I go? To the elliptical, to the bench press? What am I supposed to do? You walk into an Orange Theory or a CrossFit and everybody shows you what to do. It's kind of fun. It still sucks. You're sweating and you're hurting, but you're in an environment and you get it done. And when you get it done, everybody high fives. And then you're not fat anymore, right? So great, right? So it's the same kind of concept. That's why we have to make it fun. We do contests, we do, all kind of goofy stuff, because it's just boring regiment. It is just over and over, but boy, is it rewarding when it comes to the financial benefits that come from it. And for us at the Bartic Group at Keller Williams, I created everything around 3 P's. So people, progression, and philanthropy, right? We have to make sure we take care of the people we serve and our clients. We have to take care of our people internally. We have to be constantly progressing, because if we're not progressing, then why are we doing this? And then since we make so much money, we can do so much and give back through philanthropy. And so that's kind of our code of ethics. And it makes it more rewarding when you're sitting there and having somebody go, if you ever call me again, I'll kill you, right? Like, and I know that. And then, Kyle, for making calls, that doesn't happen very often. That's the fear that everybody has. Most people are pretty nice and pretty chill, unless you sound like you're reading a script or a telemarketer because you didn't practice. If I call up and I'm like, hey, Kyle, I was calling today to see if you may be interested in buying a home, you're going to scream at me or hang up on me, right? I don't want to get that call. That's why you need dialogues and energy and all of these things. So,
and I don't want to lose the opportunity to say this. I know that you're humble enough that you wouldn't plug this, but I read that you've helped raise over $1 million for Denver's disadvantaged youth. And what a fantastic thing. And can we talk just a little bit about why that has been so important to you? And that is a wonderful opportunity. If you think about like embracing the suck is what a lot of people will say, yes, regimen, whatever it is. Yes. If someone does hang up on you, but you've got this heart for philanthropy and say, you know what, it's not about this guy who's hanging up on me. It's about the next guy or the next gal that's going to say yes to me, because then I can help someone that's disadvantaged.
Yeah, exactly right. It's all about, as cheesy as it sounds, the why, right? Without the why, this would be brutal, right? It's just like getting punched in the face quite a bit. But because of the why, so Third Way Center, I'm the vice president on the board of directors of Third Way Center. I actually came up through the social service system. So I went into group homes and social services. I was removed from my home when I was 11, and I emancipated when I was 17 through Third Way Center, who's still been around for 30 years after they helped me emancipate and get into the Army. And so we have 5 residential group homes that help over 100 kids every year. emancipate that couldn't go back home, or there was abuse or mental issues, or there was some reason and that they could not go home. So we help them get through that process and train and teach them how to become successful citizens, right? And that's what drives our passion to give back.
Brendan, that's amazing. My longtime career coach, and he's gone on to do different things, but is still someone I stay in touch with on a somewhat regular basis, said to me and has said to many others that you're most equipped to help the person you once were. And how cool is that, that
Wow.
you're able to just impact people in a space that you very much know yourself and have dealt with and lived through. And what a wonderful way to give back, pay it forward, however you want to say it. Just what a wonderful blessing that is.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Yeah, I wouldn't look back. You know, every day when I drive home, I live downtown here in Denver. I drive by because one of the group homes that we have, an emancipation apartment complex we have, is right on Lincoln. And I drive by that house every day on my way home, and it's the house I grew up in. And if it wasn't for the people at Third Way Center, I would have been in jail. I would have been homeless. I would have been on the streets. And so it's super cool to have that kind of fulfillment coming home every day, going, look, I'm going to help those kids because those Third Way Center helped me.
Remember when you came from? I heard the famous rapper Eminem say that as he continued to get famous and have a lot of obviously income and a lot of accolade, one of the things he used to do is he would drive back to his to the projects, to wherever he grew up in Detroit, and sit and just watch things and listen to things. He got to a point where he probably couldn't get out of the car, but he would do that so that he could remember the rawness of his upbringing, so that he could bring that to his rap profession. So that's interesting that's part of your daily commute, and very very much keeps you grounded, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does. And I think what you just said too, it also it grounds it in making you realize I get paid to make phone calls and talk to people, right? Like I'm not dealing with, having to figure out where I'm going to get my next meal, right? Like that's what a lot of the kids we help. I mean, they literally have a trash bag with 3 pairs of sweatpants in it, and they've gone from group home to group home. And my problems aren't that bad, right? Hang up on me all you want. Like, I'll be okay, right? It just, it puts it all into perspective for sure.
Wow. I mean, that is, it's just, there's so much in that. And I think for people that are thinking about how difficult the real estate profession might be, if you spend any time doing any type of charity, and I can say personal experience, I've done several different philanthropic types of experiences, but last year was my first out of the United States mission trip, building houses for disadvantaged or families that just didn't have nearly as much. And it's just, that was such a clarifying moment for me. And really, to be able to build a house, I've been a part of building projects before, but I've never taken a hammer and built something. I'm just not a handy guy. And that was such a wonderful experience. And you don't have to go to Juarez, Mexico like I did. You can do it here right in your hometown. Well, that's kudos to you. And I knew you probably wouldn't lead with that. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that's the power, that's the purpose behind what you do on a daily basis.
No, I appreciate it. And if anybody, we're always looking for volunteers. We have a young professional board that's amazing. If you have any interest in helping, disadvantaged youth here locally, just reach out to me personally or go straight to thirdwaycenter.org, and we'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Brendan, you have a podcast called Real Talk. If someone wants to download that, check it out, what would they expect by hearing the Brendan Bartic Real Talk podcast?
Yeah, so my podcast is designed around kind of rolling up the sleeves and going behind the scenes and really finding out not only how people became successful, but exactly what they're using. So the technology, the CRM, we talk about specific text campaigns, workflow campaigns, scripts that they're using. You know, all of us do our listing presentation and buyer consultations a little bit different. How much are they spending on marketing? What's the profit differential, you know, on these things? And so we're really just trying to educate and show people behind the scenes, look, this isn't, you know, there's not some, I'm charismatic and I'm some magically lucky talented person. That's not it. There's things behind the scenes that people are getting shortcuts and strategies and techniques, and that's what's giving him an edge, right? And of course, you got to want to work hard. I mean, if you could have all the best information on earth and be lazy and do nothing with it. But so I wanted to have a, you know, with Real Talk, you know, with Brendan Bartic coaching, I wanted to have a platform where we could really deliver that tactical, right? That tactical experience, you know, and we have people that we talked, you know, I just had a great client or a great guest on, Jessica Abeg, who is a mom who has 3 kids, who's trying to do all of this with COVID. And so how are you doing the schedule? Who's still selling, you know, 50, 60 homes a year? And so how do you do that? What does a normal day look like for that kind of craziness? How are you doing your marketing? How are you doing your pop buys? How are you still staying in contact with your clients? So it's just very much, it's less theory, more this is exactly, you'll leave that audience going, all right, I'm gonna go log into this, do what he said, and or what she said, or whoever the guest was, and hopefully make some more money. That'd be great. Yeah, so that's what we try to deliver.
That's fun. And this is not part of the questions that I had mentioned that we would be talking through, but it's something I've asked a lot of top performers. How do you fit it all in? I mean, there's a lot going on in your world. You talk about being philanthropic. Obviously, you've got the first 4 hours of each day dedicated to lead gen. You've got to answer email. You've got to eat. Obviously, you've got other aspirations, other hobbies. How do you make all this work?
Yeah, great question, Kyle. So early on when I joined Keller Williams, you know, I was at another brokerage and decided to make the move for my real estate organization to come to Keller Williams. The reason I did is exactly what you talked about earlier, was systems and models. And we follow a very simple triangle, and it's called leads, listings, leverage, right? The 3 L's, that's our foundational system. So leads, listings, leverage. And that big one that we were just kind of nailing on, how can I get it all done, is that word leverage. So I have an amazing team built around me of phenomenal people, you know, Meg Everett, my director of operations, Kylie, my marketing director, Annie, who handles all of our transaction management, who's just a dream, right? Anna McKeel, who handles the Brendan Bartic coaching, marketing, and all the fun stuff with that and coordinates all the part. So the answer is, and then all the great agents that I have. So early on, you know, you learn your lessons, right? You're going, hey, come work with me because it'll be fun and we'll get sushi. And then you get some crazy people and then that's stressful. And at Keller Williams, they teach a course called Career Visioning that really helped me identify the hiring and recruitment process to build people around me that wanted to build big lives and become empire builders. We call them empire builders. So once I was able to start understanding that model, gave me the ability to leverage more things because they had the same drive and the same beliefs that I did, and they wanted to have big lives. So my role right now is to make sure I can deliver on getting them where they want to go, because if they get where they want to go, I'm probably going to be okay, right? I'm probably going to be all right. So that's the biggest piece. It's not like there's some secret sauce. I'm regimented in my calendar. I don't even handle my own calendar, as you've probably experienced, or not you, because I know you have a great partner there that helps you schedule all the things. I don't even, you know, the day before I know what's going on, because it's like, Brendan, your calendar, it's already set for you. Here's what you need to do. Here's when you just show up. You got to prepare for this. Don't forget to do that. So it's leverage. It's putting the right people around you that can help provide you with more structure. And then the other big piece, you got to say no to a lot of stuff that's not important, right? You got to say no to sitting around and watching The Simpsons for 3 hours every night, right? You gotta say no to certain things that I don't think a lot of Americans are willing to say no to. right? They're not willing to give up certain things. They're not ready to give up a little bit of pleasure to get long-term pleasure. They want little pleasure now, and that really anchors them into their current situation. So leverage, leverage, leverage. And then that triangle just goes to that. All right. What we always talk about too in a residential real estate is you have to be really amazing at listings, right? We know this. If you control listings in the inventory, you can control your time. If I'm working with 50 buyers or 50 homes that I'm selling, I can control a lot more of working with 50 home sellers, because 50 buyers is impossible. You got 50 buyers wanting to see 50 properties 50 times a week? No, thank you. That's insanity, right? That's not a sustainable structure to have. So plus, when you have listings, listings create leads, right? I can't market a buyer. Kyle, it'd be great if me and you were working together and you could wear a shirt that says, hey, when I'm working with Brendan, you should use him too as my agent. He's amazing, and have my picture on your shirt. I can't do that, right? But with a listing, I can put my sign in the yard. I can have my phone number on it. I can have it on 50 million websites. I can't do that with a buyer. So leads, listings, leverage.
It's beautiful. And I have had this same experience where I've had a few people that have called me. Actually, I had a phone call today before we got onto this podcast recording. Someone called me, and it was because of our marketing. They said, I feel like I know you. And the reality is we had never met. They had actually spoken to someone in my organization. And I got that person back on the call because I wanted to loop that back with the right lead generator. But the conversation was, I've got this property. We're going to bring it out to market. This person happened to be an agent. And I said, I really appreciate that. I do happen to have a buyer I'm working with right now that fits the profile of what you're selling. At the same time, though, I'm primarily a listing agent. And I could hear the silence on the phone. I was like, "You still there?" They said, "Yeah, you don't work with buyers." And I said, primarily 90% of my business is selling property as a listing agent, not as a buyer's agent. And so I've just formatted it that way. And you could tell he was like, I don't compute. And part of it is I have no problem working with buyers, but I've gotten to the point in my career where they're either working on something that I have listed, or I'm working with someone else in my organization to help service that buyer the right way.
Yeah, exactly. You want to create the experience, right? I tell people all the time, if you go to a very high-end restaurant, there's not one person in the kitchen making the food, serving the food, greeting you, getting your drink order. No, there's specific people that do specific things, so you have an exceptional experience and want to come back again. A lot of agents, Kyle, have a problem in their head of getting out of their mind where if it's not me, they're not going to love it, right? If it's not me, it's not personable. If it's not me, it's not the same. You can't show a house the way I show a house. I'm like, oh, okay, right? It's limited belief system, right? It's that limited belief system. And that's why we know right now in residential real estate, 95% of all the homes that are sold here in the Front Range are sold by 5% of the agents. 5% of us are selling 95% of all of the homes because those people have started to figure out the system, the leverage, the ability to provide a team experience so that the consumer still gets every piece even better, because you can't be a one-man, you can't play the tuba, the harmonica, and the fiddle, right? Or whatever it is, the banjo, right? So that's the difference. And I think it's hard for people to get past that.
Brendan, we're right at the end of our show. I want to be conscientious of your time. I ask every guest 2 questions at the end. So you ready for this? A little bit rapid fire.
Yes.
And these are going to be thought-provoking questions. The first comes from a song that I personally really like and has meant a lot to me. It's a song called Dear Younger Me. The writer of the song is actually writing a letter to themselves when they were younger, sharing all the bumps and bruises and maybe mistakes they made and the advice that was born out of that. I have dubbed the song, this isn't from the song, but I've dubbed the song The Advice You Wish You Knew When You Were 22. So if you were writing a letter to yourself now that you've lived some life, what's the advice you wished you knew when you were 22?
Absolutely, Kyle. So the first thing I would have done when I was 22, if I could have gone back, is I would have got into coaching or some sort of real estate mentorship program earlier. I started getting a professional real estate coach almost after my 3rd year of being in the business. And if I would have done that earlier, just as you were saying earlier with the golfing analogy and all of these different things where you say they stick around and, hit like 10 more putts or whatever it is. Well, the real behind the story is their coach is telling them to probably do that, right? It's like, yes, they're driven, but at the same time, there's someone there helping them and critiquing them. They're going, shift your body weight, do that, don't, and that's when I look back and I go, man, I would have, because as soon as I got a coach, and I remember how scary it was, Kyle, this was, gosh, yeah, almost 17 years ago. It was $1,000 a month. And 17 years ago, that sounded like a cajillion dollars a month to me. And I was like, yeah, no way. And so I took the risk, I saved up, and now there's all kind of different programs. There's group coaching, all this different things. So there's a lot more entry level ways to get into coaching, but back then there wasn't. And so as soon as I did that, I was doing okay. And then it just hockey sticked, because I got all the secrets, I got all the pro tips, I got all the accountability. Anytime I did something wrong, I was like, what are you doing, Brendan? No. And it helped me stay on, give me those blinders in a lot of aspect to stay focused, because with us as realtors, we're always going, ooh, 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 ooh. And you're on that laser, pointer, cat mode. So yeah, I would go back and I would align myself with a coaching culture or an accountability program that would get me extraordinary results.
And you're a coach, so I would be remiss if I didn't say, if someone wants to be coached by the master, Brendan Bartic, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, just go to brendanbartic.com. It's all there. Every course that we offer is explained. Feel free to call me directly, email me. We can put out information. I'm sure Kyle can put out some there, but it's just Brendan at brendanbartic.com. Pretty simple. Try to make it so we can't really screw it up. But yeah, that's how. And then we just have a consultation. I want to make sure we might not be the right fit for everybody. I know what I said here sounded, 4 hours of lead gen. That's not what we're all about. It's all about performance, right? If you want to build your business around a certain specialty where you're just all by referral, I can help you with that. We can help you with that. Now, if you asked me, how can I sell thousands of homes? Well, I can tell you from doing it, there's a program for that as well. Just depends on what you want to do. And right now, Kyle, I haven't sold a house, personally, unless it was like a buddy or someone, or a family that I wanted to work with, for almost 2.5 years, because again, I built an organization. So I also help a lot of agents that go from agent to owner to empire builder. And that's where we get into really fun and exciting things.
That sounds cool. That sounds really cool. And I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people that'll want to check that out. Before I ask the last question, I just have to ask you, I've seen your ad here locally, and you can look at it on YouTube with Barbara Corcoran, famous from the Shark Tank. What have you learned working with someone like Barbara? Why'd you pick her as someone to help really create awareness about your company and your approach?
Yeah, well, it was really our stories kind of aligned in the fact of how we came through it, right? She was a waitress at a little diner. It wasn't like she had a money, or it came from this family that helped her get into it or went to Harvard or anything like that. It was just, look, grassroots, ground and pound, let's go, buck up, bucko, right? Like, it's like, don't, and I loved that about her. And she still has the same energy at, I'm not going to say what her age is, at her age today. I think she has more energy now than she did when she was probably younger. And it just comes through in her excitement and her passion. So aligning with her helped. And then just her investment strategy. She looked at things just very simplistic, right? She goes, if I don't get it and it doesn't sound right and I don't think the customer's going to get it, then I don't invest in it, right? It's kind of like the Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's like, I don't invest in technology because I don't do technology, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand biotech, so I don't invest in it. I invest in real estate. I invest in things I understand. I know how a train works, right? He invests in trains, right? He's like, I know how trains move coal, so I'll invest in trains. I think that's the big thing too, is we got to stay grounded in what we know. And she's very good at that. And so, yeah, it's been a great partnership.
That's great. I figured that there would be some nuggets of wisdom from having spent time with Barbara.
Absolutely.
Last question. And it is actually been derived. We've only been asking this last question for the year of 2020, and it comes as a memorial to a different career coach than I had mentioned before, a guy that has been on our podcast. His name is Chris Oakley. Chris was on episode 5 of the Calibrate Real Estate podcast, and he tragically passed away last December. His answer to the question that I asked you, the Dear Younger Me question, was he was in a mentoring group in his 20s, and the exercise of the group was they were to read a book called The Principle of the Path by Andy Stanley. And in that book, you're required to write your own obituary. And so if you were to write your own obituary, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, or if you were having one of your best friends, someone that's a loved one, deliver your eulogy, this is a question of legacy. What would you hope that you would be remembered for?
Yeah, well, I would hope that I would be remembered for helping people get educated on how to build wealth and legacy wealth that you can give back and not be scared of it, that there's not this secret code. I would look back and I would want to go, look, Brendan, a lot of times, people tell me all the time, he's raw, right? He doesn't, I don't soften things. I'm very, hey, this is how it is. And I come across with that in my coaching and training. And I just go, look, it's a simple mathematical calculation. You need to talk to X amount of people, do X amount of things, mail to them X amount of times. And when you do that system, you get X amount of dollars. Now, that sounds simple, but no one does it because there's 9,000 ways to try to get around having to do that. So I would say, yeah, I would hope that people will look back and they'll say, you know what? He was I have this still to this day. People reach out to me and they go, Brendan, I attended one of your webinars 4 years ago. And if it wasn't for that one webinar where you taught me how to call expired listings, since then I've sold, I would not be here today. Since then I've sold $100 million in real estate. And I'm like, you want to get somebody teary-eyed, right? Or you want to get somebody caught up and you're just going, wow, like that's the impact that you can make. Selling a bunch of houses, that's not going to get you going in the morning, right? It feeds you for a while, but your soul becomes very, soulless, I guess, because you're not doing anything to contribute to the world. You're just sucking out of it. And so, yeah, I would hope people would look back and say, he gave me the ability to understand that anyone can do this as long as they have the right system.
That's a beautiful way to end. And it reminds me of something, it's probably as old as the hills. It's something that a lot of us have heard, but if you think about a brick, which a lot of the houses we sell are built out of brick and framing and things of that sort, a brick's immoral. Brick doesn't know right from wrong, good from bad, but a person with that brick in their hand, they can build a cathedral, they can build a hospital, they can build, nursing center, they can build houses. They can also throw that brick through a plate glass window. And I know we're dealing with a lot of that right now with looting, rioting, things of that sort. It's the people that choose. And at the end of the day, we're not selling houses, we're helping people. We're not selling apartment buildings, we're helping people. And I think if you lose sight of that, you really have lost sight of what we're in business for.
Yeah, Kyle, I ask people all the time, do you want to be a patriot or do you want to be a mercenary? Right? A mercenary just shows up every day trying to get paid and will go to the highest bidder and is like a pirate, right? They're just there and you're a mercenary. Or do you want to be a patriot and wake up every day and go, I believe that I'm making this place better than how I found it, right? And so we use the word in our organization a lot, citizen. Do you want to be a life sucker or a citizen? It's your decision.
Oh man, perfect way to end. Brendan Bartic, they haven't heard it a bunch of different times. How do they connect with you online?
BrendanBartic.com. So BrendanBartic.com.
And as I love to say, for Brendan, for our podcast producer, Kayla Davis, for the cast of thousands of you out there listening, thank you for tuning into the show. And as I love to say, we will see you around the neighborhood. Thanks, everybody.